Sego Sawaguego. Good morning, everyone. I bring greetings to you from the Tyendinaga Mohawk Council. Hope that you're all enjoying the summer weather we've had, the great weather we've been having. We're at the Tyendinaga Mohawk Council meeting of August the 16th at 9:30 a.m. And we have a number of items on the agenda. The first item of business will be the review and adoption of the agenda. Then we will proceed to the August 2nd, 2023 council minutes for council approval. There'll be, if there's any questions from council, business arising from the minutes, we'll do that next. Then we'll identify any upcoming council meetings outside of the territory by the chief and council. On the administration items, there's the council meeting for September, October, November 23rd. The dates will have to be confirmed by council. There will be a discussion about increasing the number of councillors to the size of 6 based on a community survey. The policy motion from 2013, staff requirements if they intend to run for council will be reviewed. The expert panel engagement, Cannabis Act legislation, whether or not council wants to participate in that will be decided. There'll be a discussion on the active transportation fund that has been circulated previously. I don't know whether or not MBQ had put any proposals in or not. The annual golf course had a great success, raising $60-some thousand for the food bank, and so a special thanks goes out to George Hill and team and all the people who made the food bank resource golf tournament a great success. The Mohawk firefighters have a request before council to operate a beer tent at the Mohawk Fair. The Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry it wants to know if we'll participate in the water soldier management invasive species in the Bay of Quinte, on work being done to curtail that. The Iroquois Caucus annual contribution request will be reviewed. There's a number of business registrations for Big Chief Erectors, Tim Miracle, and that's steel fabrication work. The Indigenous Services Canada Amendment number 42 for $6,000. There's some legal invoices to be paid from Alan Pratt, Temple Meninga. The upcoming council meetings, August 23rd, 7 o'clock, local council business. There's some add-ons, the EIA Youth Children Funding Agreement. So the railway is asking for council to support the Railway Safety Week through a council resolution. The media assertion demonstration, Bill C-53, they're asking for us to put a bus, buses could dispatch from our community, and if we could help get people on those buses to go to the demonstration in Ottawa. We'll recess at 10:30 a.m. this morning for a private agenda item. And then we have a number of guests coming in as well. So that's the council agenda. Is there a motion to, there's an add-on. I would like to discuss a roofing repair for a senior in private. Could add that on. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
Motion to adopt the agenda with the add-ons. Chief, I have 5 add-ons there.
Yes, hold on. There's a number of add-ons that Chris brought in this morning.
Some may be private, Chief.
Is the George Brand letter private?
Yeah, that should be private, and all the tenant issues should be private.
So the CR number 12 graduate.
That could be public.
So graduates going into post-secondary education, $1,000 education allowance. That'll be added to the private agenda.
Public, Chief, that's public.
That's public agenda, okay. Then there's the airport fire report. This is the third request. Is that private?
Oh, should be public, Chief.
Okay, public, okay. And then there's an application for status. That should be a private issue.
Status.
Application status.
Oh, just, yeah, that's confidential.
Is this for an application for Indian status?
No application for rental. Confidential. Private.
Okay, so there's an application for rental is private, and application for, is a rental as well?
Yes, sir.
So there's three items that will be put on the private agenda. Would we go in private, two that are public? Okay. Okay, thank you. That is on the agenda. I put it on this morning. Okay, was the grads going into post-secondary education, $1,000 education allowance is an issue. And then the request, Chris is making another request for the fire report from the hangar fire on on February 26th last year.
Two.
Pardon me?
Just the two regular?
He wants it regular.
Just the two items for regular?
That's correct. And there's three items that have to do with rentals. Okay, it's moved by Chris to adopt the agenda with the add-ons. Is there a seconder? If we could get the add-ons into Shelley early on, you don't have to wait till the last minute. Get them to her earlier, then they can be put on the agenda. Chris has made a motion to accept the agenda as presented with the add-ons. Is there a seconder?
I think so.
Ted? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the agenda has been adopted as revised. We will now proceed to have the council minutes of August 2nd. Oh yes, I better open up the meeting here. Let's see here. We'll have, before we start our agenda though, we will have the opening prayer. Gunjokwa, Sedwansios go de Gariwesa, ne e Garadi, a hodum Gariwategwang, Unga de what noni hode, Aguego unska identiway noni ne ungwat de Gora, Dano de atiniwe rados ne ogwe sonha sub Aguego skuno agohage. Aguego unska identiway noni ne ungwat de Gora, Dano de atiniwe rados ne yeditni stonha, Yawanja de G Sego, Yatko wa Hajes. Hadjes, agosat stonsera, na eoni yohage. Aguego, unska ediniwe noni ne watnigora. Dano, de tiniwe radas ne aguego yoho is a gihonjade. Aguego, unska ediniwe noni ne watnigora. Dano, de tiniwe radas ne sego. Yom was a gigaroyade. Dano, ono gadi aguego de siwe no virado ne sumpaya dizo ne gasat stonsera de sa oyera eto neo dunhak don nigora. Listen to these words. People, listen for a short time. The business has come to pass. Everyone, we will bring our minds together as one and send our greetings to the people, so that peace will continue for all. Everyone, we will bring our minds together as one and send our greetings to our Mother the Earth as she still goes along, giving of her own strength for us to live good lives. Everyone, we will bring our minds together as one and send our greetings to all things that support us on the earth. Everyone, we will bring our minds together as one and send our greetings to all things that support us in the sky and the heavens. And now we send our greetings to greetings and thanksgiving to Sungwaya Diesel, the creator, the great strength of the natural world. Let this always continue in our minds. And we'll now have the Christian prayer. Sungwat niha negarun hiage, de shidaro, ogwasanada gondi sayanetsra adawat, janunsare et niawan in a hunjage, jonadito negarun hiage, dagyo nagotni sarade, yataniwi sarage, ungunadarun knione donagariosto, ne junk vari wanero, jeta the gary stonies ne rowdy waner uxero, ego esasawa nagayanetsra nagasat stonsara, always onsra, Jenyahoe, awa. And if you know the prayer, please join me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Okay, that's it for the opening prayers. So we will now proceed to the August 2nd, 2023 minutes. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections? And I just noted one. There's a duplication in motion 20 on the agenda. It's recorded twice. It's the same motion, just repeated twice on the print. Pardon me?
Must have stuttered.
There's two motion 20s. It's the same wording. We just need one. And I would say after motion 4, Councillor Chris Miracle provided a verbal update. Just a verbal update. Because the motion acknowledges the verbal update. And those are the only corrections that I saw. Are there any other errors, omissions, or corrections? Chris, do you have any? Errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes of August 2nd?
No.
Ted, do you have any? Josh? Stacia, do you have any errors, omissions, or corrections?
No, the only one that I had is the duplication on motion 1. Thanks.
Okay, can we have a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
I'll move.
Moved by Ted, who will second it?
I can second.
Stacia, anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes?
Yes, Chief, regarding that verbal update on
Yes.
Ferry Lane,
Yes.
I had asked on behalf of that working group to see where we were under contractual obligations to continue working with consultant provided the final report.
Okay.
So I need that information.
Okay, so Chris is looking for a consultant's report?
No. It was came to council to engage with consultants again. So then there was discussion about why we were engaging with consultants when we had a final report. And
Okay.
we were told that we were contractually obligated to move forward with either that consultant or another consultant. So I want to be able to go back to the working group and show them that here's where we are contractually obligated to
Okay.
continue working as opposed to moving forward with real capital work.
Okay, so then do we need a briefing note from Tom then? Is that what you're asking for, Chris?
Yeah, to explain what I was told and to explain to me and to
Okay.
explain the committee.
So then I guess the action item will be to request a briefing note from the housing director on regarding the Ferry Lane boat launch
Contractual obligations.
contractual obligations and engineering advice, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, that can be an action item then for next council. We'll ask for that to be done.
I'd suggest that
possibly at that meeting when that's discussed, that just have Tom Kring attend that meeting and
Yeah, and Tom can
he can
attend.
speak directly to it. So that might be the best approach.
Okay, and we'll ask Tom to attend the meeting as well. But if he provides a briefing note where things are at, then council can have read it before the meeting, and you'll be well informed before the meeting starts. I don't really know where they are at with budget on that whole thing, or what the work plan, the finalized work
Yeah,
plan is.
and court applications don't go till November, so we have lots of time.
Okay. But it would be good if we could, you know, in the planning process, if it could take place, you know, ahead of the council. If this senior staff and the portfolio holder could all meet together, and whoever's involved in this project could have a planning meeting beforehand, so we're not trying to figure it out at the council meeting. And make a recommendation what it is they want council to. But we'll get a briefing note to see where things are at, but I would strongly recommend that we have a planning meeting with all the players involved and sort things out there, and then bring a recommendation to council. Were there any other questions or concerning the council minutes? Any other questions, Stacia?
Yes, just going back to motion number one, this was the meeting that we had with Lena Mohawk, the president of the Mohawk Agricultural Society for the Fair. And for the next council meeting, if we could just have a report, an update on those essential repairs that were required. I know that we had identified a budget of $10,000 for essential repairs. So if we could have an update as to where that's at in terms of any expenditures or identifying what those repairs are, it would be extremely helpful.
Okay, so that'll be an action item then in the minutes, as requested by Councillor Stacia Loft, to have an update on the budget and what repairs have been done and what's to be done in the future. I understand, Stacia, that some of the volunteers did take down the hen house, and some of the trees have been cut down. I see that's done. But where the bleachers are at, you know, that seed cleaning plant building needs an awful lot of repair. I can see when you drive by there, it needs painting, it needs an assessment. I don't think any repairs have been put on it for 50 years. Okay, that'll be an action item for the next council. Were there any other issues with the minutes of August the 2nd? Any other issues with the minutes of August the 2nd? David or Angela, did Susan identify that we could use COVID funds for those repairs? Or is that a work in progress?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Chief. I'd have to ask. Hold on a second, I'll follow up with her. I wasn't present at that meeting, so I didn't directly follow up with Susan on that.
Okay, Angela, do you know?
No, I also was not at the meeting, I was on vacation, but
Okay,
if it's following up, then I would need to.
yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Just let council know, David know, just send us an email if they're, or have Susan send us an email if they can use the funds for that. That'll be sufficient.
Chief, on motion 7, talks about the briefing note for changes to personnel policy regarding staff.
Yeah, it's on the agenda, Chris. The motion's on there, so if council is going to make any changes, we'll do it at that time.
Right, just the briefing note, yeah, I had requested the information that supported chief and council at that time saying you had to resign. I was hoping to get the information behind.
I don't know if there was a briefing note. I don't remember.
That's why we asked for it. Asked for the briefing note, but I'm not sure if we received the briefing note.
Yeah, this is going back 10 years, so I don't know where the record's going to be. Shelley?
Is that in 2013, the documents that I got from that meeting? I don't recall what piece of agenda item in your package that was presented in 2013 that explains why it didn't change.
Does it explain it in the briefing note?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I can tell you with the,
Thank you.
there was, yeah, it's on the
Okay.
agenda. We'll discuss it at that time.
Thank you.
Is there any other observations with the minutes? Okay, seeing none, those minutes have been adopted as corrected. action item. The boat launch and the fairgrounds. List of meetings outside of the territory. So the Chiefs Committee on Housing with the meeting with the government officials is still up in the air with the tentative date is August the 29th, but it may have to be moved to September. And the only definite date that I have is just the upcoming AI Chiefs Council meeting, which will be now a one-day meeting instead of a two-day meeting. And I think I already have a motion to approve to attend that. But again, I just don't know the date. It's still, they're trying to sort it out. Just put date to be determined in the minutes.
Chief, I have a question regarding motion 11 in the minutes.
Okay, just hold on. Okay, we'll go back to that then. What is your question?
For clarity, Chief. So it says, moved by myself, second by Stacia, approve business registration for Speedway Gas, and it lists the owners. Did that not change? Reverend Miracle, I thought he got that backwards. That was
Speedway. Yeah, Speedway gas is 549.
This one's 49, and he's talking about Shannon is coming into the reserve.
Thank you.
And David and Angela, we do need to provide a response to Clifford. He is threatening to take us to court on that issue if we don't provide us a response. So can you direct the staff to get a response to his concern? Two issues. He wants the business registration, and he's looking for whether or not that property's now been put
This
back.
might be a private
Trustee's name.
matter.
Okay. We have the council meetings for September, October, and November. Take out your calendars.
Sorry, Chief, can we just go back to meetings outside of the territory? Did we complete that? And do you need any motions?
Well,
There
there was something in the minute about proving, but I just had to put in there the date to be determined because it still isn't up in the air. It's the Chiefs Committee on Housing and Infrastructure. We'll be meeting with Greg Whitford and whoever else they bring on Doug Ford's commitment for capital for housing. And so there's a chief's office and ministers meeting on that, but I don't know the date.
Okay, I just didn't know if we.
So I'm approved to go to when they determine I just put in the minutes. It was in the last minutes, date to be determined. Shelley had some question marks about it, so I just told her to put date to be determined by the Chiefs of Ontario. It was in the minutes there, but the date wasn't in there because I didn't know what the date was. It was up in the air, and it still is up in the air. They're thinking it might be September now. The tentative date was August the 29th.
Can we not just have a motion in principle to approve you attending that?
Well, that's why I said,
Happens.
that's why I said the date to be determined by the chief's office. Whenever that is, I'll send you the email to let you know what the date is.
So why don't we just approve it now then, we're not?
Well,
It came up last week.
yes, I did.
But anyway, I will just put it in last week, and it did come up last week. But I didn't add it to, and I'll just put date to be determined, date, place to be determined.
Yeah, date. So, well, I have to wait till Chris Hoyos or Haley Lucas get back.
If you didn't put it in last week, I got no problem making a motion for the chief to attend that meeting.
Whenever it's scheduled.
I'll second that.
Okay. The 7th, is my calendar free? Okay, I guess the ALFDC meeting in September the 7th at the REMA.
Motion.
Moved by Chris, who will second it.
Yeah, I can second that, Chief.
Second by Josh. Anyone opposed?
Not at all.
Are you ready for the negative vote? Ken?
No.
Okay, anyone opposed? The motion is carried. We just get a report from all of the LPs on what work they're doing, and if we're having suggestions, it's time for the chiefs, and it's the annual meeting where the chiefs are consulted on the work that the LFDC is doing. So we'll get back to the agenda then. The meetings for September. Ted has mentioned,
I'm not available for the 6th,
okay, let's,
but the rest of the council does. Just let you guys know now.
the 6th.
September 6th.
I'm also, can you hear me? I just want to make sure you can hear me, because I was speaking last time and I know the chief was speaking at the same time, but it was hear me. Raise your hand if you can hear me.
We can hear you, yeah.
My
Okay,
apology,
perfect.
my apologies, Stacia. I'm still waiting for an appointment for my hearing aid. So it's, with your voice sometimes goes up into the ceiling, and I don't hear on this end, but my apologies. Soon I will have a hearing aid, and my hearing will be much better.
Big one.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
And maybe perhaps we may need to look at sound in the room again if it's an issue. I just wanted to note that I'm also not available on September 6th. I'll be part of a training that week. That's the last day. So if we could find an alternate date, and just to note the dates for our next regular meeting, which I believe is September 20th, if I recall. There is, Chief, I don't know if you have it in your calendar or not, but there is a day of action on Parliament Hill for CSPA from September 19th.
Yes.
Do you want to stagger those then? Have it the 13th and the 27th? Yeah.
Yeah, I can make that.
Could we have it on the 5th of September just to keep caught up?
I think Stacia said she's in training that week.
The whole week? Okay, then so that could be postponed to next week. So what day are you proposing then besides the
I
4th?
would say if you just slide it back, so the 13th and the 27th.
Okay.
That works for me.
That works for me too.
September 13th then for the next regular council? Is that day good with everyone? Okay, it's got it in there. Go to the 20th. Does that work for regular council? That's the Métis rights assertion protest in Ottawa, so we'll have to go to that. And there's a leadership council. What about Monday the 18th? Does that work for council?
I'm not sure what we're talking about.
The council meetings in September regular?
Josh proposed the 13th and 27th.
27th, okay. Sure, I've got a speaking engagement at Prince Edward County, but the 27th will work.
So the question is the vote.
So the 27th then is good? And local, the 13th,
Well,
September the 13th. That will work? Local, right.
just do vote on, oh, you can't do it. You gotta speak English.
No, the 13th works.
Yeah,
The 27th will work. I've got a speaking engagement at 6, 7.
Okay, so
Could we meet in the afternoon?
it's a vote. Our guest meeting.
Just double up your local, do the
What about
13th, 13th and the 20th for local, back to back.
Local.
13th.
Are you back in time?
It's a media rights assertion demonstrations on the 20th. I think I can be.
All right. Local 20th, 13th, 20th. I'm okay.
The 20th, so we'll, those dates, we'll go to October. Josh comes back.
Yeah, and apologies, I misspoke earlier, I said the CSPA, but that's on my brain for today, so I did the meeting rights. Yeah, actually.
Okay,
October dates of plan.
so for September, the meeting will be the 13th and 27th, and it'll be local, 7 o'clock, same days. Just put it in your calendars now.
13th and 20th.
13th and 27th, and so the local, the same dates.
You don't have local on the 20th?
Oh, no, the 20th, you're right. Yeah, the 20th, yeah, the 20th. You're right. Hey, Josh, we're in October. Does October the 4th work? Is that Thanksgiving Day? Or is it the following week?
Thanksgiving's the 9th.
That's a Monday. Does that work for council?
Those dates work for me.
I'm okay for the 18th.
The 18th, does that work for council?
We could move that to the 19th.
Just a look. October the 4th works.
Yep.
Just wait, save the date. The 4th is not going to work during the
Or if not gonna work.
the Ontario Chiefs Committee on Health priority sitting session. It's going to be the same for you.
Okay. Back
So-
here then.
So how about the 5th, the Thursday?
I can make that.
The 5th, that work for everybody?
Sure.
That works for me.
So it'll be the 5th. And does the 18th work?
Not for me.
18th doesn't work for Ted. What day are you proposing, Ted?
19th, another Thursday, 2 weeks after that.
The 19th?
I would,
The Bellevue House Committee meeting is going to be on the 19th will work. The 19th will work.
everybody else?
And then the regular,
Those dates work for me.
okay, October the local council meeting, October the 11th. Does that work for everybody? 7 o'clock?
I'm gonna be away then. He's good.
Then the next date will be the 25th. Does that work for everybody?
Go with me.
Everybody's good? We'll go to November. November the 1st, does that work for everybody?
Yep.
Okay. Does November the 15th work for everybody? November the 15th work for everyone? Okay.
Yes, all of the dates in November work for me.
November the 8th, is that good for local business? And the 29th works?
22nd, Chief.
Oh, sorry, 22nd?
Yep.
Okay, those dates are in our calendars.
You're saying, closing dates, okay. And we have that change to, thanks.
I propose the December ones too while we're here.
Yeah, I just.
Sometime there.
Well, the election is on
9th.
the 9th. The new council takes over the 18th. Oh, second. The new council takes over the 18th. So,
I'd set it for the 6th then. 6th or the 13th.
Those days are fine.
yeah, 6 doesn't work.
So we'll have a motion
Put it
then.
on to some.
December?
Post-election is just,
I'm not.
yeah, have it on the 13th then.
13th, that's fine.
But you're just approving the last meeting minutes, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Unless, of course, there's some urgent business that can't wait.
So I'm good with the 13th.
Then we bring it to council
Would that be the last count?
before the election. Okay,
After the election?
After the,
December.
yeah, I can make that.
Can we have a motion and to approve all of those meeting dates?
Move.
By Ted, who will second it?
I'll second that.
Josh? Anyone opposed?
Do we know when the AFN meeting is in December? Isn't it usually the first week of December?
It is, but they haven't set the date yet.
So just a heads up then that date might not work.
Yeah, well, the 13th, it's usually the first week of December, but they're setting the.
I know you just set a regular meeting that.
For the 13th.
Well, actually, once we know the date, we can adjust, make a motion to amend the date if need be.
Yep, I just wanted to give you a heads up that usually the AFN special assembly is that time, the first week.
That's correct. It usually is the first week of December, but again, we don't know with all the chaos that's going there, when it'll be.
Oh, that's all, sorry.
Thank you. Number of councillors. Does council wish to make a motion to increase the size of council to 6?
I'll move.
Moved by Ted. Is there a seconder? If you're going to do it, you have to do it soon because if you're next to nominations. Is there a seconder for that motion to increase the size of the council to 6 members of council and a chief? It's been moved by Ted. Is there a seconder? What I can tell you, in previous surveys, there was one that was done previously. It was pretty close whether to remain at 4 or whether to remain at, to increase to 6. There was quite a bit of support. It was a very few votes difference, but they decided to leave it at 4 based on the survey at that time. But I don't even think there was 10 votes difference. But in this survey, I understand that there was, what, 31 people or so that participated in the survey.
Chief, what are your thoughts on
26.
increasing the number of councillors?
Well, I think it would make a better distribution of the formula of the portfolios. Maybe the chiefs of the council would have more time to spend concentration instead of having so many portfolios. There might be some merit to it, but again, I would encourage the portfolios to meet with the staff, to be informed, and share your ideas with them. That doesn't mean you're direct, but they sort of need the staff, in order to do their work, they need to know what it is the council collectively want them to do. And so the purpose of the discussions with the portfolio holders and the staff is to bring recommendations to council agenda for full council's approval, and then direction is given to the chief administrative officer and Angela to those are their marching orders to get that work done. But of course, the CESL has to be consulted as well, because there could be budget implications.
That was all done, Chief.
Pardon me?
That was already all done.
Yeah.
It was brought back to us, said, yeah, everything's fine. It was in order.
But,
So
but-
can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Clarity about the number of councillors, why it hasn't happened yet is because we were trying to change the whole election process.
That's right.
Including the number of councillors and whether we're gonna go to the longer term. And we never did circle back to review those options once again. We thought this is the easiest change, and then the next change, the next
Yeah.
council will be looking at whether we go custom or the stay with Tyendinaga, or we go to the.
Yeah, there are two separate issues.
Yeah, that's why we thought, we're trying to take too big a bites. We thought we'd
Yeah,
drop
okay.
back to just take it in steps. This is the step one, that's all.
Chris?
I'll second the motion.
Chris? It's been moved by Ted and seconded by Chris to increase the size of the council to 6 members and a chief. Six councillors and 1 chief. Is anyone opposed to this motion? Is anyone opposed to this motion? And that will have to be an MCR.
Chief Station has her hand up.
Okay, Stacia, go ahead.
So I was trying to raise my hand earlier, but I don't think you saw it. I am in full support and in agreement of raising or increasing the number of councillors. I am in support of the motion. I just want to state that I think it will be important moving forward to evaluate how it is we are functioning. So if there could be a report or a briefing or an analysis of the next term to be brought to the next council and how things are functioning or any gaps, I think that would be really important. Also to, just for the record, and also in terms of any sort of a governance standard and the way that the Indian Act functions, just to note that a community of our size would require, we could increase up to 12. I'm not in support of increasing up to 12 councillors. I do, however, feel from a governance standpoint that we would be best served with an odd number of councillors. So I am okay with 6. However, I would have proposed 7. But that is that's my opinion. That's my perspective on governance practices. So I just wanted to have.
Okay. But you support the resolution that's going forward as it's worded, 1 chief and 6 councillors.
I support the increase in the number of councillors.
Okay, the motion is carried. Note Stacey's opinion that there should be an odd number, but she supports the motion, but I guess she would also like to see maybe 7. That would be great, Stacey, because the chief would never have to vote on anything.
Exactly.
I'm sure there are meetings with even councils of 12 that perhaps not everyone's present and there may still be ties, right?
Yeah. I can tell you what I've heard in other places, they often have had problems with 12 councillors getting a quorum because the councillors only show up if there's something from their portfolio on the agenda. And so that sometimes they haven't had quorum to be able to conduct their council meetings. That's happened in a number of places.
And no, I think that's a fair point, but it's also too, I think worth noting that even we have had problems with poor reaching quorum at times too. So, yeah, I think it depends on a number of factors.
I do want to make a note as well that one thing Stacia touched on was not simply to change a number from 4 to 6, but to revisit whether it's the redistribution of the portfolios, how this kind of is structured to perhaps best serve the community. So ahead of that, ahead of the next council.
Yeah.
So it's not just a number change, but actually perhaps redoing this for the time being, like Ted said, until there's a change to either a custom code or something else.
Okay, 10:30 is our next appointment for the policing. We have staff running for council. And so the motion was there. It was moved by Barry Brandt, seconded by Roy Miracle on September the 18th, 2013. Approve a change to the MBQ personnel policy regarding leave for political office that if staff seek candidacy for Tyendinaga Council, they must take an unpaid leave of absence from the day nominated until immediately following the election date, and if elected, staff must tender their resignation. That's what the current policy is. So is there any change to that policy, or does that policy stand?
Well, before we make a change, I'd like just to hear everyone's thoughts around. Staff's asked, if you would reconsider. And, yeah, I'm willing to reconsider. Unless there's something that, why we shouldn't. But if there's no opposition to it, then I'd rather rescind that motion and go back to the way it was, where they just have to take the lead instead of tender their resignation.
No, they only tender their resignation if they're elected.
But before this motion, if they were elected, they could just want leave, unpaid leave. So.
But this is the current policy.
Yeah.
So you want the new paid while they're running for office?
No, if they get elected, then they just take a leave instead of.
And it says they must have, if staff seek candidacy for Mohawk Council, they must take an unpaid leave of absence from the day of the nomination until immediately following the election date, and if elected, must tender their resignation. So if they're elected, they have to resign.
And I'm saying before this date, though, they didn't have to resign. They just had to stay on leave, right? Right. That's why this was made in 2013. Before 2013, they only had to take a leave. They didn't have to resign their position.
Yeah,
So unless there's any opposition to that, I'd rather go back to the way it was. They just have to remain on leave if they get elected.
It's not resign. Okay, so then you want to make a motion to amend the policy?
Well, I'd like to have a discussion. First, in case of something that I'm maybe missing.
Stacia?
We got a discussion, so.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have a discussion on this. I think we need more information. It needs to be an informed discussion. And so I think it would be super helpful if we had someone, again, who has experience on governance matters related to this particular issue. I think it would be helpful if we could engage them to come back with, again, some sort of briefing. And I don't want to make work for folks, but maybe perhaps we can task David with this as an action item to come back. I think there are some really critical things that we'll have to consider in that conversation. I don't think this conversation, again, will be informed enough today to have. But we do need to address the conflict of interest. We do need to address the employer-employee related matters that would come from that. So there's a number of issues, both governance related, conflict of interest, and even perhaps employee law related that we need to consider.
So
Yeah,
then,
with Stacia, those are a number of things I've thought about. I mean, Shelley and I, we've had a bit of a discussion about it, and she mentioned it because of this previous information. I do know that part of the reason why the change was made, at least my understanding is that, there's complications about, staff tenures and people getting reelected and holding positions open. And that's not the only issue, but it is something that I think we would have to look at from an overall governance perspective and really assess what it means for the organization. But, yeah, that's look into that.
yeah, well, the other thing would be, that, I guess, then if staff can be on the council, then council could be part of the staff. It would work both ways.
I think Ted's not talking about the council being staff. It would be taking a leave during their term as opposed to
Yeah.
resigning their post.
That's right.
What we had found when staff had taken leave to work, to test out working on other jobs for extended periods of time, it made the organization quite dysfunctional because you had temporary staff trying to backfill, positions that they didn't have experience in, and you couldn't track staff to take a temporary placement. And so it really frustrated the staffing process when it was like that. And so we decided to get rid of it because of that reason.
Yeah, no, there's
It
pros and
made
cons.
the organization dysfunctional.
There's pros and cons for sure. But maybe we can defer this until we get a briefing and then we can
Okay.
discuss it around that briefing. No?
I'm not sure what we're looking for in terms of ahead of a discussion. I feel like I feel like we can have a conversation right now.
We got 3 minutes.
Well, no, but I feel like Chris has had his hand up for a bit. I want to let you go ahead, but.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the chief alluded to that. I think it creates uncertainty and potential dysfunction. You're not going to attract a top-notch caliber candidate to come in and backfill for less than 2 years. And that whole time is that person going to run again, go back to their job? Yeah, I agree with the.
And in fact, staffing and getting the organization settled and getting, because our primary purpose is to deliver services to the community in a very timely fashion. That's what our job is.
Right, and that's tough enough as it is, never mind compounding it with this potential
And when you
situation.
have a bunch of temporary people, or they couldn't find anybody that would apply, if the position remained vacant and the service is not being provided, you have to double up in other staff. It creates frustration with they're overworked, and it's not really a good staffing model.
But to that point, though, with that being said about the potential hardship that's created or that's put on the administration, whose objective is to provide services, perhaps part of this should revisit whether or not you need to be on leave during that nomination election period. So I think there's 2 things to discuss, is whether or not that's necessary, that if so-and-so gets nominated, now that post is vacant for 6 weeks. And that person now, if they're willing to consider a role of public servant as a counselor, they've now got to give up 6 weeks of their income.
Well, the other,
And try to figure that out. So I've been told that in years past, or part of this decision was, it's to address potential conflicts where if somebody's running for council, they may have access to information that somebody that otherwise, if they're not working for the administration, wouldn't. But at the same time, council still functions during those 6 weeks. So I would think that Ted and Chris and Stacia and me and yourself also have information to things that potentially other candidates don't have, but there's an expectation of us, an ethical expectation, that we can't disclose confidential information or professional information or use it to our advantage for political purposes. So I don't think we have to take a leave for those 6 weeks if we're nominated. So I think part of this we could look at, if we're not going to have this discussion and decision today, would be looking at whether or not that's needed. Because if somebody that's working here during that period is going door to door and campaigning. That's not what they're here to do, and that would be addressed by their manager or their supervisor, I would expect. So I think if we would expect people to manage their staff, then there's no need for them to be forced to take a leave for simply putting their name forward or letting their name stand for consideration for council.
Before I got on council was elected in December of 1979, one of the staff had got fired for running for council, and I guess the allegation was that during the election campaign, they had badmouthed their employer. And in any organization I've ever worked with, you cannot badmouth your employer.
But I'm saying that's whether you're running for council or not.
That's right.
If you're derogatory towards your employer, whether you're a candidate or whether you're just Joe Blow, that's,
I mean, if you did that.
that's insubordination.
We just table this.
Okay, we'll table this, then we'll carry on the discussion after then. But if you're not ready to make a motion and you want more information, just say that, we can.
Post table to that.
Okay,
Whatever.
let's bring the next candidate. Let's take a 5-minute break though, and we'll bring the next candidate.